Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figure It Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and today we're going to be talking about the contents of this package, which is, spoilers, new Dreamcast stuff. If you guys could do me a favor though, before we talk about it, if you guys could like this video, comment down below, subscribe if you've never done that before, as well as check all the social media stuff in the description. I've got a Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord. You should really join the Discord. There's a lot of cool people in there. It's like an entire community. I don't really know how it formed, it just kind of happened, but yeah, honestly, it's super active and you can make friends and it's really very fun in there. Anyway, you can do that. You can also check out my Spreadshirt if you want to support me, or my Patreon. I really appreciate that one. Thank you very much for the support. And you can check out my travel channel where you can see adventures around the world and all these things I get to do, and you have travel tips, so if you ever want to go to somewhere, you kind of have a sense of what you're in for without ever costing you anything. I think that's pretty neat. Now, speaking of somebody else I'm very grateful for, it would be Pixel Heart. Now, Pixel Heart is a company in France that actually was cool enough to send me this package. So, full disclosure, it was sent for free for the purposes of review, and I want to thank them for that. If you are interested in the contents of this or any of the other stuff they produce, they do a bunch of PS4 stuff, they do Switch stuff, they actually do Neo Geo CD stuff, as cool as that is, and obviously Dreamcast stuff. So it's all there in the description. Help yourself, support it, and support your Dreamcast scene. Now, what do we have today? Well, they were cool enough, they reached out, and they said, hey, we got some new games, we're going to send them your way, so let's do this. And I was like, I think that's a good idea, let's do it. So I'm going to start opening it, and I should mention, if you're new to this, if you're like, wait a minute, did you say Dreamcast games? Yes, the Sega Dreamcast, my favorite video game console of all time, still actually, I don't know how to open this package properly, my favorite video game console of all time still gets new releases every once in a while. However, these releases are not actually done by Sega or other major companies that you might have heard of. They're always done by indie studios and indie devs, and usually just people with a passion that say like, hey, I really just want to make a game for the Dreamcast, usually for various different reasons. You know, it could be that they just really like the console and they wanted to make something for it, or it can be, you know, any other number of reasons. You know, it's easy to convert to or whatever it is, and they always have a story. This actually comes to us from the king. I am going to give a full shout out to Josh Prod, which is a company who I would argue is maybe the biggest of the developers or publishers, more accurately, for the Dreamcast that remains, because Josh Prod, who is actually run by a guy named Phil, really just has a completely different strategy from everybody else. This dude is on another level. What he does is he goes out, he finds games he likes, he contacts the company that owns them, usually stuff that's kind of faded from public consciousness, stuff that's kind of old, whatever, and he cuts a deal with said company. He either buys the game rights outright or at least does a licensing deal. And that is what happened in this case. So we got a couple of games here. We've got Andro Dunos 1, and I could be pronouncing it wrong, and Andro Dunos 2. Now, for the purposes of our video, we're only going to be talking about Andro Dunos 1. Andro Dunos 2 will get a completely separate video on it. I feel it's right to talk about each one because, again, I love covering Dreamcast stuff. It is my favorite video game system of all time, and I feel it deserves it. So this is just a teaser for an upcoming video. Stay tuned for that. So in the meantime, we'll just be talking about Andro Dunos 1. Now, the story with this game is this was actually produced back in 1992 for the Neo Geo MVS, or arcade, by a company called Visco. Now, Visco only made a couple of games ever for Neo Geo hardware. They made this, they made a game called Breakers. I think they also had another game that was never actually released called Bang Bang Busters. Josh Prod, thanks to him, all three now exist on the Sega Dreamcast. Pretty boss move. And this is actually the first release of 2023, though technically they were produced in 2022, but not actually released until 2023. So congratulations, a new year, and the Dreamcast already has more games. All right, Andro Dunos 1, like I said, it originally came out back then, and then it had a Neo Geo AES version in the same year, back in 1992, and then it just kind of faded from public consciousness. Years later, and I don't know if Josh Prod was directly involved with this or not, but it actually got this version. This is the Neo Geo CD version, which was an interesting release because Neo Geo CD was long since dead. SNK had nothing to do with this, but Visco did. Visco was all like, hey, you want to make an official, you know, we'll a release for the Neo Geo CD, we'll sign off on it. So it was converted over to the Neo Geo CD, and then the game was published. So it's interesting because it's a press disc, it's all like as official as it can be, other than the fact that SNK never said yes, and they didn't have to, and that it just didn't come out in the original lifespan. That is basically the same situation here. Sega has nothing to do with this. Sega is actually very cool about the Dreamcast independent scene. They don't interfere with it. Even though they still make merch, like this hoodie, which I got back at Tokyo Game Show a number of years ago. They still make money off the Dreamcast in that sense, but they understand that one of the smartest things they could ever do is just not touch the Dreamcast independent scene. The fact that there's people excited about the Dreamcast games and there's still something relevant that's happening with it, and that people can spend money on it and stay excited about it, even though they don't make money off the indie games, that keeps the brand alive, which is just a great way to keep the money for them. So they don't ever mess with it. And you got to celebrate them for that, because if it was Nintendo, these people would have been sued into the ground. But we don't have to deal with that, thankfully. So yeah, we've got Andro Dunos. Let's just get back to the point. This is the game. Now there is two versions of this. This is the quasi-American / Japanese version. The indie releases typically kind of fuse the two artwork styles, just because it's probably like, there isn't enough demand to have a completely Japanese one or enough demand to have a completely American one. So you can actually choose which label you like by just kind of flipping it. And usually, I don't know this yet because I haven't opened it, but usually the manuals are reversible. So this front style is the American artwork. And yeah, it's actually pretty good. There's also a PAL version, which is the thicker European-style case, which I think is technically like a limited edition or something. I think they produce more of the American ones. And you can get whichever one you want. And I should mention that these releases are always completely region-free. So it's completely cosmetic which version you like. So if you are in the US or Canada, and you're like, honestly, I like the big PAL blue cases, I'd rather have that, feel completely comfortable in importing that, because it's totally going to work on your system. And if you are in Europe and you're like, that's right, I live in a closet, my room's really small, and I don't have a whole lot of space, these thick cases, if I could have an American case that's like half the length, I think I would go for that. Well, congratulations, you can do that too. It will totally work. Again, purely cosmetic. So let's open up the case itself if I can. I still, to this day, I still hate the way that plastic wrap works on CDs. It's always just a pain to get into these things. Let's find our point of entry, which may be right here. Okay, it's possible. This is, you younger kids who didn't have to deal with CDs in the 90s, you don't know this pain that every one of us had. Like the wrap on these things was always too tight, and there's never one of those like little strip things that just kind of makes it really easy to peel away. But we are making progress. Here we go. All right, the cellophane, the indestructible cellophane has been defeated. And come on, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I think I actually just broke the case. I did. I broke the case. That's fine. I got spare CD cases. That's fine. But no, I actually did break the case. That's okay. I promise you, I will fix that. I have spares. But anyway. So the manual that's inside of it is a little thin, but let's see if we can get it out of there. I'm sure we can. This is why you should take a little more time when you open these things. Okay, open inside. Yeah, it's totally reversible. So there is the American style and there is the Japanese art style. And I'm sweating because you shouldn't be wearing a hoodie in the summer, but what do I do for you? Okay, the first page on there just has a description of the game. Humanity has suffered countless attacks, perpetuated by mysterious alien life forms. Thanks to its defense system, over the course of many years, humans have managed to protect their star from these enemy attacks. But as time passes, these attacks from these enemies, aliens, have grown stronger. Humanity's defense system is now in danger. The humans managed to scavenge the wreckage of a number of enemy ships, leading to the discovery of a generator capable of producing unlimited energy. Equipping the generator to their most technologically advanced fighter ships, the humans have managed to create 2 prototype ships that are able to reach the heart of the enemy's territory. And so, humanity's final attack begins. It then has a control scheme set up, which looks pretty basic. You really only seem to use 2 buttons: move the ship, start the game, blah blah blah, shoot, change weapons, etc. There's game modes for making it easier or harder or whatever, stuff like that. Then there's just a simple credits page, and then the artwork flips over, and then you have the Japanese instructions / description. So that's really all there is to that. The disc itself actually uses different artwork somewhat different artwork. It's that red ship again. And I should mention the discs are pressed. This is a common misunderstanding with a lot of people. When you get one of these indie games, they're not, some guy didn't just like burn this onto a CD and write in Sharpie like, oh, Andro Dunos, and then like mail you something in an envelope. What they do is these are made in a factory. You know, they're as official as they can be other than the actual license, and the fact that they're produced on CD-ROMs, not CDRs, do not misunderstand, that's 2 very different things. A CDR is a subset of a CD-ROM. A CDR stands for CD recordable. whereas CD-ROM does not. CD-ROM is the basis of the technology. Now, these are produced on CD-ROMs because GD-ROMs, which was Sega's original format, is no longer producible. So, and it's unnecessary because you don't need the extra 300 megabytes or so anyway. So that's irrelevant. Basically, yeah. And then the inside, we have that same artwork shared again. And on the back, we have just images of the game and just descriptions of stuff, and says that it's VGA compatible, which is very important because that's how you make the game look all pretty. Now, what is the game? It is a shoot 'em up. Now, what's really funny about that is that the Dreamcast used to be synonymous, at least in the indie scene, with shoot 'em ups. It was like all you were getting all the time. It was a joke. It was like, oh, new Dreamcast game is coming. How many things am I going to shoot? And there it is. Yes, it's a shoot 'em up. It always was the case. That has fortunately changed to the point where we started being like, well, where are the shoot 'em ups? Like, literally for years we went without any. And so now it's kind of cool. Josh Prod's bringing some of them back. So Andro Dunos is a great place to start.
All right, we are rolling here. So first thing you're going to notice, of course, is all this Neo Geo stuff. So in playing it, I'm pretty sure that this build is actually emulated and possibly off of the Neo Geo CD version I showed you guys earlier, which in of itself was a conversion from the AES version. I don't actually know that. I did ask that question, but I didn't find out, unfortunately, what the answer is. I know that Andro Dunos 2 was actually built from the ground up, but that's a different story. We'll get to that one day. But yeah, in this game, you have a bunch of little options you can change. I'm going with the easy mode and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, well, I'm going to cut out some of the stuff here and we're just going to go into the gameplay. Now, the game features basically, you get 3 lives and you get 3 continues. And I end up using all of them because as much as I love shoot 'em ups, I'm not very good at them. It takes a lot of time and a lot of practice. But really, I just wanted to give you guys a sense of what the gameplay style is. It is not a very complicated game. It is kind of simplistic in its nature, but it is actually pretty fun. I'm just not very good at it. So that's one of those things where I would have to sit there and practice it for quite some time and, you know, improve my skills. But I think at this point in your lives as a gamer, you probably know if you like a shoot 'em up or not, and you can probably recognize if you think this is a good one or not. I enjoy it, but I am no expert on shoot 'em ups in general. I like them. I think that they're very universal, and that's obviously why they get ported so much and all that sort of stuff. I really just think it's really cool that a game like this gets brought to the Dreamcast even now in these days. And I'm always tired when people say like, it looks like I can run on the Sega Genesis or the Mega Drive. Oh my god. Yeah, good luck with that. Like, AES, yes, I'll grant you, but AES was a far more capable system than, say, the Mega Drive, so whatever. People like to assume that that is a possibility when it is not. You would have to seriously downgrade this game to get to work on that. But yes, this is not the kind of game that totally digs into the Dreamcast hardware, but none of the indie games really are, like, because budget. That's unfortunately the sad reality, is that when you're expecting to sell only like a couple thousand copies, you're not putting in millions and millions of dollars to make a modern game on a system like that. It's just not how it works. So I'm just honored that we are able to get stuff like this at all, and to have it be good and competent and entertaining. At the end of the day, that's all that really matters. It's a fun experience. As I mentioned, the game is of course region free. It supports the VGA modes as well. This particular one is running through the DC Digital native HDMI output modification on the Dreamcast, so it's not really native, but you know what I'm saying. And it is using the M Classic for upscaling as well, and I think it looks pretty good. But yeah, it's a fun game, and I'm gonna let you guys enjoy some of the music here, and I will check back in with you at the end. And I am back. Yeah, see, I told you I wasn't very good at it. I ended up spending the whole way through. I spent all my lives and didn't even get through the level. But again, I just wanted to give you guys a sense of what this game is. If I were to, like, I'm gonna be real, if I sat down and I really tried to, like, crush it, I think I would do a lot better. But that wasn't the point. I just wanted you guys to see how the game actually works. Again, if you want to check it out, there was a link in the description to Pixel Art. I'll also throw in a link to Video Games New York, because I believe they are the American distributor, but you can get it at either place. Both are great, and Pixel Art, especially, a huge shout out to them for hooking me up with this in the first place. And a huge shout out to you guys for watching the video. Thank you so much for doing that. I will, please, if you don't mind, like, comment, subscribe, check out the social media stuff in the description. As always, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later.